Hi, you're on the Reddit Confessions channel. The first thing I noticed was the missing chair. It wasn't knocked over or pushed aside like someone left in a hurry. It was just gone, quietly gone, like someone had measured the silence and decided it could no longer include me. I stood there, staring at that stupid space at the breakfast table, wondering if I was losing my mind. Had I moved it? Had we loaned it to a neighbor? Was it in the garage? No, Marla had taken it. Not by accident, not even out of spite, but as some sort of silent message. Her favorite form of communication. She always had this way of making statements without saying anything at all. A lipstick mark left on a wine glass she didn't drink from. A scarf draped across a door handle for 3 days. A single sock thrown in with my white laundry like she was testing how much I'd tolerate. But the chair? That was new. And that's when it hit me. This wasn't about furniture. This was about her setting the stage. See, a few nights earlier, we had what I thought was a regular argument. One of those low-energy ones where no one's yelling, but everything hurts anyway. She told me she needed air. Not space. Not time. Air. Like I was suffocating her. Like my presence was some kind of smoke filling her lungs. She said it softly, like it was obvious. I want to feel what it's like to be free again. And I, being me, nodded. Like a fool. Like a man who still believed that if I just gave her what she wanted, she'd come back. But the chair told me she wasn't planning to return. And the real kicker? That morning, the same morning I noticed the missing chair, she texted me a playlist. A playlist. Titled, Songs for a New Beginning. As if my pain needed a soundtrack. I didn't respond. Not because I was strong, but because I was afraid of what I'd say if I did. And for weeks, I clung to her absence like it was temporary. I told myself she was figuring things out. That maybe she'd walk through the door any minute, sit in the missing chair, and apologize. But what she did instead, what she really did, that's the part you're not ready for. Because she didn't just leave me. She replaced me before I even realized I was gone. 3 days after the chair vanished, I did something I hadn't done in years. I checked her laptop. It was still synced to our shared cloud drive, and for some reason, she never logged out before leaving. I wasn't proud of it. I didn't feel powerful or justified. I felt like a kid creeping downstairs after bedtime, hoping to catch a glimpse of the truth he already feared. And there it was, an untitled folder, recently modified. Inside were photos, blurry, nighttime photos of a rooftop bar I didn't recognize. 2 wine glasses, her hand, a man's shoulder, then a mirror selfie taken in a hotel elevator. She was wearing the same red coat I bought her for our anniversary, the one she claimed made her feel like a grown-up. I zoomed in. His face was half-turned. But I knew him. Craig, my old coworker. The one who used to come over for dinner during the holidays when he had no family in town. The same Craig who helped me fix our bathroom light once and joked that he should get a room here. I thought he was kidding. Marla didn't even bother changing the background music in one of the videos she'd recorded of them on that rooftop. It was the same playlist she sent me. Songs for a New Beginning. But in the video, she was laughing at one of his jokes, turning to him like he was her future, and I was some cautionary tale she had finally escaped. It wasn't just betrayal, it was replacement. She'd rehearsed her exit with him. Suddenly, everything made sense. The late nights, the vague excuses, the way she looked at me like I was furniture she'd long stopped seeing. But here's the part that twisted my stomach more than anything else. In one of the videos, Craig leans into the frame and says, "Should we tell him yet?" And Marla replies, "No, he's not ready. He's still clinging. Clinging. Like I was some desperate barnacle on the side of their shiny new yacht." I closed the laptop and sat there in our dim kitchen, the playlist still echoing in my head. I felt stupid. Not just because she cheated, but because I'd made excuses for her. I defended her to my friends, my therapist, even to myself. Told myself she was just overwhelmed, just tired, just confused. She wasn't confused. She was done. I didn't cry that night. I didn't scream. I didn't break anything. Instead, I made pancakes. Because somehow, making pancakes at midnight felt like the only thing I could control. But that was the moment I decided I wouldn't beg. I wouldn't text her. I wouldn't ask why. If she wanted freedom, she could have it. And if I was going to be erased, I'd make damn sure she felt the absence. Because I was done being quiet. And she had no idea that the man she left behind had finally stopped clinging. After I saw that video of her and Craig, something in me went still, like a switch flipped. I didn't scream, didn't throw her clothes out the window, didn't even smash the wine glasses she left behind. I just sat in that quiet kitchen, chewing my cold pancakes, knowing full well I was done begging for crumbs. The next morning, I started packing. Not her things, mine. She wanted freedom? Fine. She could have the silence, the house, the Spotify playlist. She could come back to the same couch with the same throw pillows and realize the only thing missing was the man who used to keep it all together. I called my cousin Arthur in Minneapolis. We hadn't spoken in years, but when I told him I needed a place to crash, he just said, "Get here. We'll make it work." By noon, I was tossing my essentials into my hatchback. Clothes, my laptop, my favorite coffee mug, the one she always said was too chipped. I left behind the picture frames, the wedding album, even the cologne she claimed smelled like responsibility. As I drove away from the house we shared for 8 years, I didn't look in the rearview mirror. I didn't need to. That place wasn't home anymore. It was a museum of someone else's lies. By the time I hit the Wisconsin border, her text started. "Marla, where are you? I came home, and your stuff is gone." "Lowell, what the hell is this?" I didn't respond. She called 5 times in a row. I let each one go to voicemail. I knew she'd get desperate eventually. And sure enough, the next message came through with a voice I barely recognized. She sounded frantic, like someone who just realized they misplaced their phone in a public restroom. "Lowell, please. Can we talk? You don't just leave. This isn't like you. I know you're hurt, but can we just talk? Please." And that's when it hit me. She never thought I'd walk away. She thought I'd be the guy waiting by the door, clutching a casserole and a second chance. She assumed I'd be her safety net, soft, reliable, always ready to catch her when her new life got too uncomfortable. But what she didn't understand is that you can only stretch someone's patience so far before it snaps and wraps around your own throat. By the time I got to Arthur's place, I was exhausted, emotionally, physically, spiritually. I crashed on his old pull-out couch and stared at the ceiling, wondering how many years of my life I'd wasted loving a woman who never once feared losing me. The next morning, I woke up to a message from Craig. "Yep, him. Hey man, I didn't know things were that serious between you two. Hope you're doing okay." I laughed, out loud. He didn't know things were serious? We were married, you clown. But his message told me something important. Marla didn't tell him I left, which meant she was already rewriting the story. I was going to be painted as unstable, dramatic, emotionally reactive. But that was fine. Let her paint. Because I had my own canvas now, and I was just getting started. The following days were quieter than I expected. I thought I'd be breaking down, pacing around Arthur's living room like some heartbroken sitcom character. But instead, I felt calm, disturbingly calm, like my body had finally stopped holding tension I didn't even realize had been there for years. I wasn't okay, but I wasn't collapsing either. I was rebuilding, quietly, in the corners where she never bothered to look. Of course, Marla kept trying to reach me. Her texts started changing tone, less confusion, more guilt-wrapped manipulation. "Can we please talk like adults? This is childish, Lowell. Just ghosting me? Really? You're acting like I cheated on you or something." That last one, I stared at it for a while. My finger hovered over the screen, tempted to type out the video I'd seen, the laughter, the look she gave Craig, the same one she used to save only for me. But I didn't respond. She wanted a reaction. She wanted the fight, the fireworks, the emotional explosion that would give her the spotlight again. But I wasn't giving her a single spark. No rage. No begging. Just absence. And for a narcissist, that's the most unbearable punishment. Then she tried a new angle. She sent me an old photo of us, the one from our first vacation to Maine. I was sunburnt and awkward in a bucket hat. She had her legs draped over mine on a dock, holding a cup of coffee and smiling into my shoulder. She captioned it with one word. "Remember?" Yeah, I remembered. I remembered that we got into a screaming match 2 hours after that photo because she wanted to stay another night, and I couldn't afford it. I remembered how she called me predictable, how she stormed off to the bar while I sat alone on the dock with nothing but her coffee cup beside me. It looked like love in the photo, but it was already rotting underneath. I just hadn't smelled it yet. And then came the knock. Not a metaphor. A literal knock. On Arthur's apartment door. It was a Thursday morning, and I was drinking his terrible instant coffee when I heard it. I figured it was a package or one of his neighbors complaining about parking again. But it wasn't. It was her. "Marla, She stood there with sunglasses on like she was hiding from the sun or from shame, though I doubted she felt any. She wore that same red coat, and when she saw me, her mouth tightened like she hadn't planned what to say next. I didn't speak. I just leaned against the doorframe, arms crossed, heart steady. She pulled off the sunglasses, blinked at me like I was a stranger, and then said the most Marla thing possible. I didn't come here to fight. I didn't expect you to actually leave. That word again. Actually. Like my pain was theoretical. Like I wasn't a person until I stopped being hers. I told her Arthur wasn't home. I didn't let her in. She tried small talk. Asked if I was okay. If I needed money. If I'd been eating. Then, she did it. She cried. Or at least, she tried. But her voice cracked at all the wrong parts, and not one tear fell. She kept glancing around like she was performing grief, like this was a show and I was an uncooperative audience member. Craig wasn't supposed to be serious, she said suddenly, as if that would absolve her. I just nodded. Then she said it, the line she never imagined she'd have to say out loud. Can we try again? Just talk things through, please? There it was. The begging. The reversal. The woman who once said she felt caged was now trying to claw her way back into the life she set on fire. But I didn't give her an answer. I just closed the door. Softly. Because sometimes silence is the only way to be heard. She stood there for almost 2 full minutes after I closed the door. I could hear her breathing on the other side. Faint. Like she was waiting for me to open it again. To say I was just joking. That I'd always be her safety net. But I didn't move. I didn't lean in to listen. I just stood there, one hand still on the doorknob, feeling the weight of everything she had drained out of me over the years. Eventually, I heard her heels clicking down the hall, fading like the tail end of a bad dream. I didn't look through the peephole. I didn't watch from the window. For once, I wasn't the one watching her leave. She was the one getting left behind. Arthur came home that afternoon with a six-pack and a half-hearted joke about finding me in a better mood. I didn't tell him she showed up. I didn't want sympathy. I didn't want a conversation. I just wanted the air to stay clean for a while. No manipulation, no twisted words. No one telling me I was overreacting for not wanting to be lied to. But Marla wasn't finished. The next morning, my inbox was flooded. Emails from her. Some long, some short, all laced with that same underlying tone, control. One read like a love letter. Another sounded like a therapy session. The third? It was a spreadsheet of all the things we needed to sort out financially. That one made me laugh. She cheated, disappeared, then asked if I could handle the car insurance. I replied only once. For words. You got what you wanted. After that, I blocked her. Not out of anger. Out of necessity. You don't heal while standing in the blast zone. You walk away. You rebuild. You choose peace over pretending. 2 days later, Arthur and I were watching an old boxing match on TV when my phone buzzed with a message from an unknown number. Just 4 words, again. You're being cruel, Lowell. Cruel. That's what she called it. Not the lies. Not the emotional distance. Not the cheating. But me going quiet. Me refusing to play along with her new version of the story. That was her line in the sand. That night, I checked her social media. She'd deleted nearly every photo of us. The wedding, the anniversaries, even the silly pumpkin patch selfie she once insisted was her favorite picture ever. Gone. As if we never existed. And in their place, a stream of polished, filtered images of her at art galleries, brunches, dimly lit wine bars. Always smiling. Always alone. Or so it seemed. But I wasn't stupid. I knew how this worked. She wasn't trying to heal. She was trying to erase the part of her life where she wasn't the main character. And yet, despite the curated smiles, I saw it. The cracks. The slight slump in her shoulders. The way her eyes didn't match the grin. The forced captions. She was unraveling. She thought I would chase her. She thought I would fold the minute she showed up with her crocodile tears and half-truths. She thought she could lose me without consequence. But now the silence was closing in around her, and for once, she couldn't talk her way out of it. I wasn't just gone. I was done. And something told me she was only just beginning to feel the weight of that. I thought that would be the end of it. Her quiet retreat into curated Instagram posts and group selfies with people who had no idea she used to spend her evenings screaming at me for folding towels the wrong way. But people like Marla don't fade out. They don't accept silence. They fight it. Because silence to someone like her isn't peace, it's punishment. And if there's one thing she can't stand, It's being ignored. I was at Arthur's kitchen table eating cold leftover pizza when I got a text from my mom. Marla stopped by today. I blinked at the screen. Not called. Not texted. She showed up to my mother's house. Apparently, Marla brought flowers. Had the nerve to cry on my mom's porch. Told her we were having a misunderstanding. Claimed I was going through something and needed time. That she was worried I might be in some sort of emotional spiral. What she didn't know, what she never bothered to understand, was that my mother knew everything. I told her about Craig, the rooftop bar, the playlist, the empty chair. I didn't sugarcoat it. And my mom, bless her, had always been polite to Marla, but she wasn't stupid. So when Marla stood there clutching her bouquet of store-bought carnations, my mom looked her in the eye and said, "You didn't just hurt him. You hollowed him out. He's finally starting to come back to life, and you don't get to undo that." Marla left without saying a word. She texted me a few hours later. Not with an apology. Not even a lie. Just this. "So this is the narrative now? I'm the villain?" I didn't respond. Because it wasn't a narrative. It was reality. The one she'd scripted herself by burning every bridge and expecting me to swim back across the ashes. That weekend, I got a call from a mutual friend, Bryce. We hadn't talked in a while, but he sounded hesitant, like he didn't know whose side he was supposed to be on. He said Marla had been asking around about me, spinning some story about how I'd abandoned her and was spiraling out of control. And then he said something that made my jaw clench. "She told people you were emotionally manipulative." I laughed. Bitterly. Me? Manipulative? I was the guy who used to leave her notes on the bathroom mirror reminding her to breathe before big work presentations. The guy who spent 2 months learning to cook vegan just because she went through a documentary phase. The guy who once stood outside in the pouring rain with a broken umbrella because she forgot her keys and didn't want to walk home alone. But sure, I was the manipulative one now. Because I didn't come crawling back. The truth was, she couldn't stand not being the victim. If she wasn't adored or pitied, she didn't know who to be. And now that I wasn't feeding her either, she was starving for relevance. The final straw came 2 nights later. I got an email from Craig. A real one. Not a text. Not a DM. A long, rambling email titled, "Let's clear the air." He told me he didn't know the full story. That he thought we were already done when he got close with Marla. He said she told him we were separated and I had emotionally checked out long ago. But here's the kicker. He said she ghosted him last week. Completely cut him off. Blocked his number. Vanished. "I thought she was going to leave you for me," he wrote. Turns out I was just a detour. He ended the email with an apology. Said he didn't expect forgiveness. Said he just wanted to say sorry before he left the city. I never replied. Because this wasn't about Craig. It was never about Craig. It was about Marla's need to be wanted, and her inability to sit with the silence once she was left alone with herself. She lit the match, and now she was coughing in the smoke. By the time Craig's email faded from my inbox, I thought the worst of it was behind me. I told myself she'd finally give up. That maybe, just maybe, Marla would focus on curating her next new beginning, instead of trying to claw her way back into a life she chose to burn. But people like her don't disappear quietly. They retreat, reload, and come back uglier. It started subtly. My LinkedIn got flagged for suspicious activity. I hadn't touched the thing in years, so I brushed it off. Then a few days later, I received an email from a freelance client I hadn't worked with in months. The subject line simply said, "Are you okay?" Confused, I opened it. They forwarded me a message, one that was supposedly written by me, saying I was taking a mental health leave and might not be able to finish the project due to personal issues. The email looked real. The tone was close to mine, but I didn't write it. I checked the sender. It had my name, but not my real address. A fake account, crafted just well enough to pass for authentic if you weren't looking closely. And that's when I knew. She wasn't just trying to haunt me anymore. She was trying to ruin me. I confronted it head on. I messaged everyone I'd worked with recently, letting them know someone was impersonating me. Most were understanding. A few didn't respond. One client canceled a pending job just to be safe. And it hit me like a punch to the gut. Marla hadn't just taken our marriage. She was trying to make sure no one would trust me once she was gone. I told Arthur everything. He offered to call her, threaten legal action. But that's the thing about someone like Marla. Direct confrontation just feeds her. She wants to be seen. She wants the attention, the drama, the scene. And I was done giving her a stage. So instead, I gathered every email, every fake message, every weird account impersonating me. I saved it all in a folder I named Proof. Because I wasn't going to explode. I was going to document. But the next message she sent wasn't fake. It came directly to my phone. I missed the version of you who needed me. It was subtle, wrapped in nostalgia, almost poetic. But underneath it, poison. She didn't miss me. She missed having a backstage pass to my vulnerability. She missed the control, the access, the power of being the one I always turned to when life got hard. I left her on read. And that's when she dropped the final card. A photo. She sent me a picture of the house. Our house. Empty. Cold. And in the middle of the living room, a single envelope sitting on the floor with my name on it. She texted, "I left you something. In case you still care." For a split second, I stared at the message, wondering if it was a trap. And I guess in a way it was. But curiosity got the better of me. I drove there the next morning. Parked across the street like I was casing a crime scene. The lights were off. Curtains drawn. I walked in through the side gate. Used the spare key I never gave back. Inside, the house felt smaller. Like grief had shrunk it. All the furniture was gone. The walls were bare. Her perfume was still clinging to the corners, but the warmth was gone. Whatever we'd built together had been stripped down to drywall and broken promises. I found the envelope exactly where she said. Inside was a single photograph. Us, from 5 years ago, sitting on that same living room floor with takeout containers between us, laughing. Behind it, a note scribbled in her familiar, sharp handwriting. "You're the only thing I ever truly felt safe with." I didn't know how to stay. I stood there for a long time, holding that picture like it was the last proof I hadn't imagined the good parts. But I didn't take it with me. I left the photo on the kitchen counter and walked out. Because I finally understood. Marla didn't come back to fix anything. She came back because she realized I was whole without her. And that was something she couldn't forgive. After that day at the house, everything shifted. Not overnight. Not with some dramatic, triumphant moment where the skies opened and I felt healed. No, it was smaller than that. Slower, but real. It began with sleep. I started sleeping through the night for the first time in months. No tossing, no staring at the ceiling, no phantom vibrations from texts that weren't coming. Then it was breakfast, actually eating it. Not just grabbing coffee and pretending it counted. I even started going for morning walks. Me, a guy who once said, fresh air is overrated. Arthur noticed first. He made some offhand comment about me, not looking like a haunted sock puppet anymore, and I took that as a compliment. Because honestly, he wasn't wrong. I had been hollow, dull, waiting for closure like it was something she owed me. But here's what I learned. Closure doesn't come in envelopes. It doesn't come with apologies or long texts or carefully worded guilt trips. Sometimes it shows up in silence. Sometimes it's just walking away and choosing not to look back. A few weeks later, I got a message from a number I didn't recognize. It was brief. "I hope you're doing okay." I was wrong. I didn't need to ask who it was. The number said everything. So did the timing. But I didn't answer. Because I was doing okay. In fact, better than okay. I had started taking new freelance projects. Met a few new people. Even joined a book club, of all things. There was this woman, Claire, who recommended a novel that wrecked me in the best way. We talked about it afterward over tea, and she didn't once ask me about my past. She just saw me, in the present. And that was enough. Marla, wherever she was, could rewrite the story all she wanted. She could tell her friends I was cold, that I ran, that I changed. Let her. Because in some ways, I had changed. I wasn't the man who'd wait in the doorway anymore, hoping she'd come back with softer eyes and better intentions. I was someone new. Someone who finally understood that freedom isn't about running away from something. It's about learning how to stand still without being afraid of your own shadow. And the best part? She saw me walk away. But she never saw me glow up. That's the end of the story. But we want to hear from you. What moment from Lowell's journey shocked you the most? Was it the fake emails, the photo at the end, or the way she tried to rewrite the narrative? Leave your thoughts in the comments. And don't forget, you're watching Reddit Confessions, where healing begins when the lies finally end.